John Razimus Hughston here. In this video, I'm going to be doing an unboxing of an item, a box. I ordered multiple items, actually, from Bob Lazar. Now, I did a video entitled Bob Lazar Area 51 Special Part 1, and there is going to be a Bob Lazar Area 51 Special Part 2. I've been working on it for a long time, but let's face it, due to these new whistleblower trends in the news, David Grush specifically, a lot has changed. So I think we have to re-examine Bob Lazar and his claims he made back in 1989, or was it 1991? It was a long time ago. I do remember seeing the original George Knapp Bob Lazar interview when Bob Lazar his face was covered and he went by the alias Dennis. Whether he reverse engineered extraterrestrial craft or not, whether he worked on an actual exotic material spaceship from another world or not, flying saucer of actual extraterrestrial origin, NHI they call it these days, non-human intelligence, whether he worked on that or not, I cannot confirm or deny. We're going to do this unboxing of Bob Lazar's United Nuclear stuff. Bob Lazar's website, United Nuclear, sells a lot of cool scientific stuff. I most definitely did see the Joe Rogan interview, and I definitely did see the documentary. And, context is important, but it is unusual that they raided his house during the filming of the documentary. That is kind of unusual. Because of the Black Vault's Freedom of Information Act request, we know the nature of that raid, officially on paper anyway. But, maybe there was more than meets the eye. Maybe they were looking for Element 115. Does Bob have a piece of Element 115? This is a precursor to my Bob Lazar Area 51 Special Part 2 video. This is just a precursor. I'll probably showcase some of these amazing items in that special Part 2. But I like to spend a lot of time and effort and work. I bought a UFO model I haven't put together yet. I'm going to be gluing that and painting that. It's an official scale model of supposedly the sport craft flying saucer Bob Lazar reverse engineered worked on personally, or saw with his own eyeballs and touched on day one of being introduced to this phenomenal program, which may not have been all roses and sunshine. He said there was a lot of intimidation going on, and he was fearful. And so that is a legitimate reason to want to come forward, to put himself out there and protect himself. One thing that I see in all these Bob Lazar interviews, time and time again, is he most definitely does seem to say, I'm not doing this for money, I'm not doing it for fame. It's an insurance policy. I don't want them to come get me. Now that I'm out there, if they did come get me, it'd be super suspicious, obviously, just, do the math. So he wanted to be protected. I don't think he's crazy. That's too simple of an explanation. I do believe Bob probably did work at Area 51. Did he work in the capacity he said he worked in? It's impossible to confirm unless we have someone that also worked right next to him come out and say, yes, this stuff is true. David Grush is the closest thing we have in modern times. So it's a huge thing is starting to snowball. We're going to have politicians on both sides of this, and I don't think it's a political issue. If this is actual non-human intelligence technology, Grush says might be from another dimension. Bob Lazar says it's from Zeta Reticuli. Zeta Reticuli has been a trope and a common repeating theme in ufology since the Betty and Barney Hill case. Betty and Barney Hill said the system they were shown was the Zeta Reticuli system. That's where the Zeta Reticuli comes from, Betty and Barney Hill. The case of the couple who were driving, lost 2 hours of time. They also famously introduced the world to missing time. 2 hours is the common amount. I've never had 2 hours of missing time, thank goodness. But maybe you have, unless you skip forward to this part where we're unboxing this United Nuclear Bob Lazar order. He's a legitimate businessman who's selling cool scientific stuff. Let's take a look at what I ordered, and I'll show you everything. Okay, it's packed really well. Nice bubble wrap. They definitely don't skimp on the bubble wrap. They did a good job with the nice box. The box is probably bigger than it needs to be, which is nice. They don't skimp on the box size. Here's my order. Okay, plenty of pieces of bubble wrap. So this is the poster I ordered, signed by Bob Lazar. Bob said, he's not going to be signing stuff forever. I am going to be opening this up. I collect posters. You can see behind me I have a number of cool posters, rare posters. Let's see what else we got. Okay, we have something. Looks pretty big. What is this? Okay, here we have the 3 different glow-in-the-dark powders that I ordered from United Nuclear. The containers are bigger than I expected they would be. Very cool, very cool. They're probably twice the size I expected they would be, but they're apparently 1 ounce each. They feel a little bit heavier, but maybe it's the containers. United Nuclear makes some very cool glow-in-the-dark powders. I will show you them in the dark with a flashlight so you can see what's going on. Okay, here we have the tritium light source. Tritium light source is something that's not easily found. I've never heard of it, but Bob, of course, has a limited supply. It's pretty cool. I'm going to be opening this on up and showing you the tritium light source. What do we got here? Ooh, yes. Invisible ink. All-purpose blue invisible ink. Now, see, I'm running a business here myself. Bob's running, obviously, a more successful business. I'm running a much more modest, tiny one-man show business. But in this little business I run here, I most definitely need some blue invisible ink, because all my documents, they don't need to be seen by everyone. But if you have a nice UV flashlight, being a ghost hunter that I am, of course I have UV flashlights floating around this place, and I believe that's how you can see this invisible ink, and it's quite a bit of it. 4 ounces. I have a bunch of MGIC stamps, as you're probably aware of, and so that's why I wanted the invisible ink. I thought it was a very cool thing. Some blue glowing invisible ink. We have one last item in the box. One last item. It's probably the item, well, maybe the signed poster is the most thing I'm looking forward to. Maybe it's just glow stuff. Maybe it's the tritium light source. All of these things are actually amazing to look at. Let's take a look. Now, I think Bob might have these made, custom made. So you can't just go out and get a Area 51 replica sign that looks any good. You got to go to Bob Lazar's website. Now, because he worked there, supposedly, and I do believe Bob did work at Area 51. He described the hand scanners. Yes, the hand scanners are seen in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I've seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind probably 3 times. And I never noticed those hand scanners because it's such a short scene. It's such a fast scene. So yes, the information was out there. But it doesn't mean that he also didn't use it at Area 51. Here's the final item. The final item I ordered. Note: recently fabricated vinyl graphics may contain small air bubbles. These bubbles will diffuse into the adhesive and disappear shortly after application. Okay. Wow. Oh my goodness. Bob Lazar's a nice guy. I appreciate that, Bob. I appreciate it a lot. It's greatly appreciated. He signed it. Bob signed the sign. Now, Bob didn't have to sign the sign. I said, can you please sign the sign? But you don't have to. I understand if you don't. And he signed it. So, you know what, Bob? I believe he did work at Area 51. He knows too much, all right? He risked too much. Yes, he went on a couple TV shows, and he went on a couple episodes of Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. He definitely doesn't go on tons of shows. But I think initially in 1989 and 1990, 91, maybe he thought the local Las Vegas news wasn't enough to protect himself. Maybe he felt he had to go on sightings or make a documentary, because he has an old documentary that came out back in the early 90s. Man, Bob Lazar is actually a very cool guy. He didn't have to sign it. I don't think he knew who I was. I don't think he's ever seen my Bob Lazar video. But this is a higher quality sign than I expected. I expected it to be kind of flimsy. Look at the back is painted. The back is painted white. You don't see that with cheap signs. The front is white. It's a metal sign. It's probably close to the actual size of the one at Area 51. Area 51 has this huge sign, and this sign is inside the huge sign, but they do have this sign separately. I'm definitely going to be putting this on my wall, okay? This is just something I had to have. I had to get. I got this for a certain amount. Now when you go on the website, it's a certain amount more. Probably because it's not cheap to produce this. Man, such a cool sign. I'm going to read it for you. Warning, restricted area. Don't enter this property without permission. Section 21, Internal Security Act of 1950, 50 U.S.C. 797. While on this property, all personnel are subject to search. We're going to search you. But they're going to do more than that. I can't read the bottom part because, let's just put it this way, the old internet tubes, if you know what I'm talking about, the old alphabet who own the old internet tubes, you can't say certain things. So it's a really, really strong message when you're faced with this sign. In Nevada, if you happen to come across a sign like this, maybe turn the other direction. There's a video of a guy who plays dumb, and he's like, oh, I can't drive past this sign, huh? And the camo dudes are like, yeah, we're going to call the cops if you don't turn around right now. He's like, what? And he's obviously doing it for clout and for clicks and for views. But I'm surprised the camo dudes came out and were nice to him, because this sign is some serious business. No photography allowed. So the fact that they allowed the guy to even film the interaction with the camo dudes, I'm surprised the camo dudes didn't confiscate or make him delete the footage, because no photography is allowed. But that's the least thing that's allowed. You can't step foot near these signs without being noticed to an extreme degree. It's obviously an extremely secure site. So is my loft up here, so I'm going to be putting it up here on my wall. I might frame it. This is a phenomenally awesome sign. Bob, thank you so much. You're probably not watching this, but thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. You know, on Bob Lazar Area 51 Special Part 2, you probably didn't watch 1. You're probably not going to watch 2. But if you do, I'm going to examine your case, re-examine and examine it again in light of the David Grush revelations. I would really like to hear just even a comment you have on David Grush. Maybe you, like everyone else, are waiting to see what happens, waiting to see what unfolds with this David Grush situation. I think it's more serious than people understand. He's a highly decorated guy. He's saying a very similar story to Bob Lazar, except on the outside. Bob was on the inside, and he touched the flying saucer himself. I'm going to hold on to this forever, and I'm probably going to get the second sign in the future. There's a red sign with white text, but man, the fact that he signed it, he didn't have to, you know. He's a nice guy, and I might order from him again. Let's open up the other things. I'm going to show you the other things. We're going to take a look at them, see what's going on. So let's open up this light source. This is exotic to me. Never heard of it till recently. Saw it on Bob's site. I've seen it on his site for a couple months now. I'm like, what is that? That is so cool. I wish I had that. I just made the plunge and I made the jump and I'm like, you know what? Fear of missing out, FOMO, gotta get it. So I grabbed it. It's a bad way to make decisions, just fear of missing out. But you know what? YOLO, gots to grab it. I don't believe in the YOLO philosophy, but let's face it. To an extent, it makes sense. Just got to cut through this box. All right. So this is the unboxing of the light source itself. It says on the website that this light source doesn't need anything and will be lit, a dim green light, for 10 to 20 years. And because this light was manufactured 5 years ago, let's face it, theoretically speaking, it only has 5 years left. So 5 to 15 years is the remaining lifespan of this light, which I'm cool with. Let's say it's 5 years. That's amazing. A light source that's light for 5 years? You don't want to drop it. It has stuff in it. I don't want to not show you the opening part, but okay. It is in a glass tube that is inside of a plastic encasement with a little ring for like a keychain. I'm not seeing with the naked eye any glowing taking place, but I have a lot of lights up here turned on. So let's take this downstairs with the other glow-in-the-dark stuff. The 5 things I ordered in terms of scientific things from United Nuclear. We have the invisible ink, we have the light source, we have the green phosphorescent powder, we have the violet, and the aqua phosphorescent powder. But let's test that out. Let's shine a flashlight at that. See what happens. Off the bat, turning off the light, you can see the tritium light source. Very cool. I was afraid it didn't light up, but it does. It does light up. Look at it. It lights up. That is cool. It doesn't need anything. It is a little chemical reaction, a little scientific experiment in and of itself. Very cool. I've never owned something this awesome in terms of a glow-in-the-dark object that stays glowing for 10 to 20 years straight. That's freaking awesome. That's phenomenal. I'm sure when the energy is expended, your reaction is going to cease after that period of time, but it's still an amazing thing to have. I'm just a big fan of glow-in-the-dark things, okay? I'm sure we need like an ultraviolet, like a black light to get that to be visible, and I don't have one with batteries offhand. No big deal. That's still very cool. I'll show you this in the future. So let's just light up these powders and see if this is how they are going to glow. Ooh, yes. They do glow. Okay, the green one is a super obvious green. The blue one, the aqua one, is an obvious aqua. Okay. The violet one might be the most faint. Oh my goodness. Violet one is extremely faint. Come on, Violet. You could do a better job than that, Violet. Wow. The violet isn't even registering. And Interesting. Got some bad violet. Yeah, I don't know what the violet is, but it's not glowing at all. But you know what? Playing with this glow-in-the-dark stuff, I have some glow-in-the-dark powder myself, and this green one is very bright. It's glowing very nicely. Very cool. So that's what I got from United Nuclear. The invisible ink. I'll show you this in the future when I actually use it with my stamps. We have the different phosphorescent powders. Green is the brightest. So the tritium light source, it's pretty cool. I'm probably just going to have it up here, just chilling. It'll be hanging it on up, keeping it here at all times. A pretty awesome thing. We have the awesome warning sign. Bob signed. It's not a guarantee he's going to sign things forever. In fact, he said he's not going to be signing things forever, in those exact words. The poster. If you have to open it on up, I want to keep it in mint condition, but I will pull it out for a few seconds. Bob Lazar, flying saucer, sport model, poster. He signed it. I gotta open it on up. I gotta show you. Of course. The nature of posters is they easily get damaged, so I gotta be very careful. Very careful. This is the poster I got. Pretty cool, pretty phenomenal. Signed by Bob himself. It's a very big poster. I'm going to have to find a special frame just for it. There, Bob signed it right there. Very cool. Let me just take a look. Let me just take a gander at it. Wow, there he signed it right there. This is actually a very cool poster. Very neat stuff. You know, I'm not here to advertise anybody. I'm not sponsored by anybody. But if you like science, check out Bob's United Nuclear website. If you like Area 51 history, historical artifacts, documents, check out the different few Area 51 things you can get. Got to keep this poster in mint condition. I'm a poster collector. I'm a poster fanatic. I have so many posters that if I were to put them all up, my walls would be plastered in posters. I don't have that kind of room, which is why I have so many posters behind me. But I love posters. Here's a Max Headroom poster I got. Perhaps the Bob Lazar poster is it's a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller than this gigantic Max Headroom poster. I had to have this Max Headroom poster, and it's just very unique. It's very interesting. Just a huge fan of posters. I tend to lean in the direction of gray aliens being non-physical, interdimensional entities, closer to spirits. But in light of the information of them having physical craft, that doesn't make much sense. Why would a non-physical being need a physical craft? Perhaps they are biological robots from a more intelligent race. I do not know. I don't know the answer to these questions. I got this camera not exclusively for UFO hunting. I initially got it for ghost hunting, but you know what? It's the first color night vision camera that I've ever owned. I'm all about night vision cameras. I currently own this camera that's recording has night vision mode, and ghost hunters love this camera, and the price has only gone up. Every camera in history, the value goes down after you buy it, except for this one. and except for ghost hunting ones and UFO hunting ones, and the Bigfoot hunters want them too. So I grabbed this. It is a night vision camera. It's the white model. I thought the white model would look pretty cool, and I'm definitely going to be testing this out. You know what? I'm going to test it out tonight. Yeah. So you can see pretty good. You can use it not only as a night vision camera, but you can use it as night vision goggles. That's kind of the cool thing about this camera, is you can use it as a goggle. Some people have it mounted and they use the camera itself as night vision itself. But I'm going to be using this exclusively, initially, in the beginning, for UFO hunting. If I capture any cool things flying around in the sky, I will let you know. I'm going to go out right now. I'm going to turn this camera on. I'm going to try to capture some anomalous things. I live near a Space Force base. Okay? They launch things in the middle of the night, and you hear sonic booms. You hear rockets go into outer space, literally in my front yard. And so I think that those are key moments when I can film those rockets and see if there's anything unusual around those rockets. I mean, if there are NHI, non-human intelligences, flying around, they might be interested in our launches. And I live close to a launch site. I live close to the Space Force base itself. That's where I live, nearby. So I'm going to be testing that out. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon. Yes, the cheapest ghost hunting device video part 2 is coming soon. The reason I haven't uploaded it yet is because I'm a perfectionist and it has to work before I upload part 2. This video is not the video showing the cheapest ghost hunting device part 2 working, but there is going to be a video where it works. I know for a fact spirits can set off tiny, tiny, tiny LED light devices. I've seen it on numerous occasions, probably half a dozen times. I've seen personally spirits set off these little LED things. Now, the problem is they never did it on command. They did it when the cameras weren't rolling. Sometimes they would do it after I got back from a ghost investigation, and it just happened to be sitting on the shelf, and then it goes off, and I'm like, oh, great. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Cameras weren't rolling. No one can see it. But I'll take a mental note and maybe use one of these in a future investigation, and that's what I'm going to be doing. That's the whole point of the cheapest ghost hunting device. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Bob Lazar, Area 51 S4 Special Part 2. Stay tuned for all my videos. Subscribe to my channel, youtube.com/@MGIC, Mysterialis Ghost Investigation Crew. I'm going to be actually possibly making a new UFO show focusing on UFOs, trying to always use science and get the best possible cameras I can to record evidence. If I capture any UFO evidence, UAP evidence, unidentified aerial phenomena, there will be a new UFO, UAP, NHI, alien, ET show. And that show will have a new name. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon. This has been John Razimus Hughston. Be seeing you.